What Tyrone said earlier about what does love, what justice looks like, and what that the best love is the love that actually does something to make something happen. It put me in the mind of my grandmother, who used to say pretty much the same thing, that love is a verb, not an abstract noun that just sits around looking pretty, but it actually gets up and it does something. When we talk about these things of freedom, justice, and equality, these are things, abstractions that we need to sort of try to make real in this world. And when I see people speaking of our greatness while being okay with putting gas on children at a wall who are hungry and starving, I have to say, maybe we need to try to be good first before we can talk about what it means to be great. And the type of monstrosity that would look down upon that and laugh and think it's okay, sometimes it bothers me, because these are people with ethnic sounding names, and some of the people who are okay with that, just 2 generations ago, they would have had ethnic sounding names. Isn't it interesting? Jacob Burckhardt, philosopher, 19th century, said, "Beware the terrible simplifiers. Beware the terrible simplifiers. Beware those people who try to tell you something is not as complex as it is." So someone who was willing to tell you that a mother who will strap a baby to her back and walk 800 miles wearing a pair of flip-flops wants to invade your country, instead of saying, you know what, we need those people here to work, because if they will walk 800 miles in a pair of flip-flops just to get here on the thought that they might get something better, imagine what would actually happen if we gave it to them. So imagine for a minute you're an indigent immigrant, a refugee seeking a safe place to be. You traverse over the earth, the sand, the sod, and the sea in search of a turf that will simply let you breathe. You arrive to a place that is claiming to be a land of peace, freedom, justice, and opportunity. And when you get to the gate, what is it that you see? A bunch of great Americans telling you you've got to leave. Now, what I say next is going to get some upset. But some of us Americans come off as hypocrites, because some of us Americans, we seem to forget that many of us are the descendants of indigent immigrants. Some forget how their ancestors fled anti-Semitism. Others how their ancestors fled from potato famine. Others how their ancestors ran from dictators' cannons. Then they get here and their progeny 2 generations later can act like they just cannot imagine what it must be like to have to run and fight because you fear for your country and you fear for the lives of your family, worn by wars, tragedy, political insanity, ecological calamity. Think about it. Where would you be if others had just callously sent your ancestors back into the hell of that brutality, instead of opening the hand of humanity that ain't a great America that I want to see? Somewhere in a harbor between 2 cities, a green lady stands with broken chains at her feet. In her right hand is a torch that, when lit, its flame represents the light of freedom, and the name that she's been given is the mother of exile. The refugee is her child. See, meant to be nurtured to full maturity, and there's an inscription written upon the pedestal she stands on. Read closely, read along. It says, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shores, send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me." Now these words, written by the descendant of an immigrant, seems to me to make something ring as quite resonant, that offering a refugee a safe place of residence is what it means to actually be a great American.